It's all right. It's kind of like it's like a pair of underwear to me. Like what?
All right. Good afternoon. I'm Master Sergeant Elise Phillips. I am the 7 Munitions Squadron First Sergeant.
Good afternoon, Team Dyess, and I'm Master Sergeant Mike Altagiri. I'm the First Sergeant over in the 39th Airlift Squadron.
And today, our podcast, we decided to make the topic about operating outside of our comfort zone. I don't think we can hear this enough in our careers and in our personal life. It's something I'm very passionate about, and luckily have had great mentors throughout my career to have pushed me out of that comfort zone, so I'll have that experience to be able to impart on our audience today.
Yes, just to echo what Sergeant Phillips is saying, I think we've all heard it. You know, if you're comfortable with what you're doing, you're not growing. And I'm going to steal your quote that you were going to say earlier. Life begins at the end of your comfort zone, right? That's what they say, and it is so true. Anything that I have learned a lot from and that I felt that I've grown from is something that I was definitely uncomfortable or apprehensive to try at first, or something that I got pushed towards from maybe a supervisor that I didn't want to do. But then looking back, it definitely was beneficial and helped me grow as a person, NCO, and member of the Air Force.
Yeah, so this might be a long time ago for some of us, and maybe just last year or within this last year for others. But think back to when you said goodbye to your family and your friends when you left for basic training, and a lot of unknowns were happening in all of our brains. We were really nervous. We didn't know what we were about to walk into. We've heard stories, but we really weren't sure what was about to happen. So think back to that time. But, we all got through it. We relied on each other. Luckily, we get through basic training. Then we are posed with an obstacle of technical school. Technical training. So with that, we're pretty nervous. I know I was really, really nervous in my school, just worried about attrition and failing out and whatever that may look like, and other just unknowns in that environment. And then we get through it successfully. And then we graduate that, and we're on to our permanent duty station, and then we're also thrown out of our comfort zone yet again. And this is all very rapid in our lives in the military once we join. So just think back to that time frame, and once you get to your permanent duty station, you then realize, like, wow, I cannot believe I just did all of this in the last, let's say 6 months to 1 year of my life. And you have done so much, and you took a leap of faith, and that really grew you. I know I can attest to that. It grew me as well during that time. So just like he said, and it's a great quote, right? So life begins at the end of your comfort zone, and it's very true. We wouldn't have these very unique experiences as military members, such as deployments, education, TDYs. I mean, you name it. Our type of our AFSC. We wouldn't have probably experienced this if we didn't take that leap of faith to join the military. So my question to you, and this is interactive as far as I'm tracking, so please interact with us, ask questions. We would love to answer them. But I know sometimes as an airman, I have fallen into this. But do you find yourself bored at work? Or maybe even in your personal life, you're just kind of spinning your wheels. You're really not sure what you should be doing, but you know you want to do something. You're just not sure where to go. And that is when I think we need to be able to have self-awareness and reflect a bit and be like, maybe I need to try something new, call out on a friend, a mentor, go through an agency to see what's out there and be open-minded to it.
Yeah, I mean, you hit on something really good, reflection. I think it's very important at times to reflect, and I think a lot of times we don't take the time to reflect. If you think about why you joined the Air Force, what did you want from the Air Force? Are you still getting that now? Has that changed? If it has changed, what are your new wants and desires? Why has it changed? I think those are definitely important questions to see kind of where you want to go and where you want your course to kind of traverse in the Air Force. And if you're not getting those needs met, reach out to that supervisor. We have helping agencies, we have career assistance advisors on this installation who their sole job is to help kind of articulate a plan of action for you of what you want to do with your career. And if it's a four and done or 6 and done, there's definitely nothing wrong with that either. You know, serve honorably, do your job, be the best airman you can, and then pursue that college, path if you want, or whatever that civilian path that you want to traverse down. But definitely reflect and make sure that your desires and needs are getting met as well. I don't think we do that enough at times.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I thought that he hit the nail on the head with that one is, why did we join the Air Force? Maybe throughout the hustle and bustle of joining the military, we're so busy with, just like I said, BMT, tech schools, CDCs, maybe career qualifications, of course, our OJT, and all of that sometimes can consume our life, and then we get thrown with curveballs in our life that we never anticipated to have happened, and then we're just kind of like, I really want to chase after those goals that I told myself I would join the Air Force for. So self-reflection, I definitely agree with that, and try to course correct if need be, if that's where you still want to go. But I also wanted to talk about when I'm presented with an opportunity that I'm really uncomfortable with, some physiological symptoms or feelings that I get are like a racing heart, maybe sweaty hands, and self-doubt. I don't think I'm going to be good at this. This is just not my cup of tea. But that's when I know that starts to happen, and I can identify that because I know myself. That's when I push. I'm like, okay, I need to push beyond my personal limitations because I know I'm capable of more, and that's when I know I need to do it and say yes to it. I don't know.
No, actually, not to change the topic a little bit, but you hit on something that I was going to kind of talk about. Those emotions or those feelings you get when you are anxious or you are nervous, right? Sweaty palms, racing heart, adrenaline.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when you get excited? Same things happen, right? The same neurological effects. Sweaty palms, your heart starts racing, you have that adrenaline rush. The only difference is how you interpret that. Being nervous from being excited. I'll give you guys a story. I was in wing safety back at Kirtland Air Force Base, and our chief of safety sat us all down and said, hey, we're going to do the safety fair. It's going to be great. We're going to have booths. We're going to do this. We're going to have briefings and stuff. And hey, Sergeant Altajiri, I need you to pick a safety topic, and I need you to brief about it. The whole wing's going to be out there, yada, yada, yada. We're talking about it. The only thing I heard from the whole conversation was that I have to provide a brief in front of the whole wing, 400 and something people. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this. I'm just starting to get nervous or whatnot. And the next day driving into work, I actually heard on the radio someone talking about how the neurological effects are almost exactly identical to being nervous versus being excited. It's how we interpret it. And our fear of failing versus our feel of, coming out on top is really what drives that feeling or our interpretation of that. So what I started thinking, I was like, okay, well, let me get excited about this. I'm going to provide a brief, a safety brief that potentially could impact a large crowd of people that maybe, this injury or this mishap is not going to repeat itself. So let me get excited about it. And it really helped me prepare for my brief. It helped me practice. And then when I delivered it, I thought it went pretty well. There was maybe a couple hiccups and stuff, but that's going to happen whenever you speak or whatever you do. You're going to have things that you can use and learn from and become better with. But that always has stuck with me, where to get excited about talking, if that's one of your fears, what message are you trying to deliver? And for that specific example, is I was delivering a safety message about a mishap to hopefully prevent it from ever happening again. And in this one in particular, someone lost their arm. So that's kind of what I took out of it. And you can use that kind of mentality for anything that you're apprehensive or nervous about. If you're stepping out of your comfort zone, try to spin it positively. Well, hey, I have an opportunity to become a first sergeant. Maybe I'm really apprehensive or nervous, but what are the good things about it? Try to focus on that.
I love it. It's so true. I think that comes down to mindset. Exactly. And your level of optimism and maybe that lens that you view these opportunities through. And I know we all have self-doubt. Like, am I really going to be great for that job? I don't know. Or am I really smart enough to pursue an undergraduate, my bachelor's? Am I really going to be okay to get my CCAF? I don't know if I can rise to that challenge. We all have those. So that's very important, but try, and I've had to do this with myself too, is try to change that perspective. Tell yourself you can do it, and I think just like Sergeant Altajiri said, it's putting in that work and that effort to prepare, to view it through a different lens, reach out to someone who can help you, because we all have had many similar experiences. We've all gone down many of these job positions or education opportunities that we can all help each other and lean on. So you're not alone in these things, and we all still get nervous to this day. Of new opportunities, and that's completely normal. But I think it comes down to a mindset, that level of optimism and open-mindedness. I think being open-minded is really important too.
You're going to fail, you're going to make mistakes. That's part of life. That's how you grow. Another brief that I did, obviously, if you get my theme is public speaking. I don't think anyone really likes to talk in public. I mean, some people are definitely a lot better than others. Whenever we changed to OCPs, I was asked to brief the wing about some OCP changes and, you know, colors of socks and the boots and all that stuff. So I got up in front of the wing again, and at the end, everything went great. I had a corny joke at the beginning, everyone laughed, you know. And at the end, I misquoted the AFI as I walked off stage, and I didn't even realize I did it. And then afterwards, I'm thinking about how it went. I was like, I said the wrong AFI at the end. And I thought it was like, oh my gosh, every time someone sees me, they're gonna be, oh, that's the shirt that doesn't know AFIs or whatever. And, you know, I took it, you know, it was painful and stuff, but no one remembered that and stuff. And it was just one of those little things and stuff. So you're gonna have that. Just reflect on it, use it to your advantage, grow, learn, and get better. So
that's a great point. And I think public speaking is the number one feared thing. I think even more so than dying. I think I've heard before. I can't quote that, but it's the number one feared thing for people to do. So there are opportunities out on this base, and I'll put a plug in for them, is Dyess Toastmasters. As we progress in rank, we will have opportunities, will be required to speak publicly, just like Sergeant Altajiri said. It sounds like he's had many of those opportunities in his career. So the Dyess Toastmasters are a great organization to break out of our comfort zone and to break through our own fears of that. So just put a little plug in for them. And then also self-awareness and reflection is vital in understanding when you start to have that self-doubt. So you'll know it. I mean, we all know ourselves best. So once we start having that, just try to break through those boundaries and those obstacles those mental obstacles that we put in place, and just really talk yourself up. Like, I can do this, I know I'm capable, and I also feel like it comes down to time management too, when we're putting more things on our plate, and stress management. I think all of those are very important.
Do we have any questions out there yet?
Yes. What are some techniques to reduce the psychosomatic reactions to new or scary situations?
Goodness. New techniques.
I would say kind of what I hit on a little bit, I think, is looking at that new challenge or that new opportunity in a positive light. Like, what's the benefits of this new opportunity? What is my effect going to be on others? How am I going to grow as an individual? Instead of focusing on, hey, I might fail at this, or what if I fail at this, or what if I do this wrong? Don't focus on that. Focus on the positives, I think. And I don't know if that answers that question specifically, but I think for me, going into any kind of new change or something I'm uncomfortable, I have to force myself. I definitely have to force myself at times, but to focus on the positives of what I'm, like for this example, this podcast, what are the positives that we're hoping to get out of this, you know, to kind of bring some professional development, bring some knowledge that we've acquired over our years to maybe impart on some younger folks, versus sitting there and looking weird in front of a camera and a mic and stuff in a room, you know, and I might misspeak or whatnot. Those are some of the negatives. Just, you know, I think I'm rambling now, so I'll let you hit it. Go ahead.
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Yes. What are some techniques to reduce the psychosomatic, meaning physiological reactions you're not choosing to do on purpose, reactions to new or scary situations?
Okay, so I'll speak from my personal experience, and I think public speaking is one of all of our fears. So PME, let's just go there real quick. I'm sure all of us, if not majority of us in this podcast, have been through some sort of PME and having to brief or public speak, right? So I'm like, oh my gosh, what if I get in front of the entire class and I forget what the heck I'm saying? Like, oh, how am I gonna prepare for this? Like, how do I make sure that does not happen? That's worst case scenario. You just a blank stare at everybody. So the way I overcome that in new experiences is to prepare. Just like what Sergeant Altajiri said, I do I'm that person. If I have to give a briefing, such as a PME brief, I will stand in front of my mirror and I will make sure that I know everything I'm saying. I memorize my briefing. It is over the top, but it's how I prepare and make sure I'm ready. Also, let's just say somebody says, hey, do you want to do a podcast next Friday? And you're like, I don't know if I'm ready. I'm like, what am I even going to talk about? Well, that could enact a lot of anxiety in us, right? So to combat that, what I would recommend, and this is with anything, that was just an excuse, or not excuse, but an example. But what I would recommend is obtain details to whatever it is the opportunity is right in front of you. Obtain some details about it. That way you're not just you're guessing, it's not ambiguous anymore. You have specifics so you can properly prepare. And then another recommendation, like I said, we've all been through very similar experiences in the military, right? No matter our rank, and if you're newer to the military, we have folks that have been around for a while and we can answer questions. So another recommendation is go find somebody who's done it. Whether it's a job, let's say somebody presented you with a PME instructor or a TI. Maybe you got picked for Dyess, and you're like, I don't think this is for me. But you're only going off of a limited knowledge. Go find somebody that has done whatever that opportunity is. Maybe going to school, and you're really intimidated by, let's say, that degree program. Find somebody in your career field who's done it, and ask those questions so you can omit a lot of those feelings of anxiety.
So you said basically practicing the thing that you're going to be doing so it becomes, if you're more prepared for it. Would you suggest taking small steps towards that new thing? So if instead of speaking in front of 400 people, speaking in front of 10?
Yes.
And taking steps to prepare yourself to be less scared of that eventual situation?
Absolutely. Maybe that even comes to going to an FTAC class and teaching them maybe the enlisted force structure, or if that's an opportunity that the career assistance advisor presents somebody with. Take those small steps where it's pretty low threat, but it's still coming out of your comfort zone and you're taking those baby steps to grow.
Another question, should you voice your self-doubt to others? Some may be concerned that their leadership might lose faith in them if they're not confident of their own abilities.
That's a good question.
Or is there safe places to voice that self-doubt?
I would say probably go find your mentor. Bounce that off of them, whatever you're feeling, because maybe it's just you need a vent to somebody and have a sounding board, and we all experience that. Maybe just talk to your mentor or the person that you feel the most comfortable with, and I don't foresee an issue with expressing that to the leadership, and maybe they can give you tools to overcome that doubt and allow you to be better prepared for that position. I don't know if you have anything.
Perfect. No, that was perfect. Yeah.
Might say that having a good support network would help you in being able to deal with those kind of stresses, having someone to go to.
Absolutely. Yeah, because I think a lot of times we just want to talk about it. You know, maybe it's not your inability to do the job, but it's more so, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm thinking, I'm nervous, I'm anxious, but if you get that off your chest, I'm sure you'd be able to thrive in that position, and we all go through it.
What about going outside your comfort zone, outside of professional military things, doing something that's in the community?
Yeah.
What's the question?
I'll just give you an example. Is there like certain things you can do in the community to go outside your comfort zone to help build up those tool sets?
I'm trying to think of something specific off the top of my head.
Just build up tool sets to grow outside of their comfort zone?
Yeah. So you might, your first experience speaking in front of people doesn't have to be in a military setting.
It does not. I would say school. Non-COVID times, right? I don't know if they're doing in-resident college courses right now.
They are.
But even if it's on school online, I'm pretty sure there's speech classes out there that you can take and present. And front of
I'm
the
sure if public
instructor.
speaking is your fear, like most people's fears are, there's no short of the opportunities to find somewhere to speak or to kind of deliver some sort of message in some sort of crowd. Outside of the military, yeah, maybe the school is probably the best thing. And they do, career days. A lot of the schools around town here. And that could be just talking to a couple, some elementary students. Start right, couple, second or third graders or whatnot. Or if you have school age kids, maybe talking in front of their class and your son or daughter's there. Yeah, and kind of going back to the question you asked about, I think it was not apprehension, but self-doubt, expressed in self-doubt. I definitely, as a supervisor, as a senior NCO, I would much rather someone come talk to me about what's bothering them or what their concerns are, because that's what we're charged to do, versus dealing with that on the moment. Because none of us have to deal with this by ourselves. Whatever you're going through, whatever self-doubts or concerns you have, there's definitely always someone there. Find that mentor that Sergeant Lee said. It doesn't have to be someone in your squadron. It doesn't have to be someone in the military. I think everyone needs someone that's not affiliated with their career to be able to vent to and talk to stuff about work. I think that's definitely important, whether that's mom, dad, wife, husband, or whatnot. But no one expects you, at least I have never expected it. I don't expect myself to have all the answers and have all the tools to handle every situation, and I don't think that most supervisors and people in the military expect others to as well to have all the answers, and there's going to be self-doubt unless you're just like the best, God's gift to the Air Force or whatnot.
Just
like
get it right
have
every
all the
time.
answers. Yeah, you're gonna. Yeah, so.
And I think that goes back to it's okay to fail, right? My goodness, it hurts, it stings. You're like, oh, I tried so hard, but you still came out not to where you wanted to be, and that is okay. Because guess what? I feel like that's how we learn the most, and that is how I learn my lessons the most is when I fail. I like to learn from others more so than myself, but it's just not the case. We're human, we're not perfect, and we're not always going to be the best at our job, but that's just how we become better.
Well, I bet you that most good leaders, if they had an airman come to them saying they were concerned, they didn't know how to do something, they probably, instead of losing faith in that airman, would assign someone as a mentor to help them to still complete it, but give them additional help and information so they could complete it. And if you don't go to your supervisors for fear that they're going to lose faith in you, then they're not going to be able to give you the tools you need, and you won't develop. Right?
It's very true. I believe that too.
I don't have any other questions at the moment.
Okay, sounds good. I just want to say too, when there's times where I have, I wouldn't say been forced, but been put into positions such as a deployment to Afghanistan, let's say, as a young airman in the military, I'm very much outside my comfort zone. But we just go back onto our skills. We rely on those skills to get through that. But when you look back, and when I personally have looked back at that situation, I was there for 6 months. I just couldn't believe what we did. Like how, I was so uncomfortable the whole time, but I was just like, we gotta do it, we gotta get this done. And then you just look back and you just shock yourself, what you're truly capable of. And you can apply that in anything. But that's just one of my personal experiences within my career. But I've been very uncomfortable my whole career, and I love that though. I enjoy that. I wouldn't say I love it, but I enjoy it, and I would say I have grown a lot from those experiences, and I feel like that's just kind of like a motto of mine that I try to go by is like, I need to get uncomfortable. It's important for me because I know that's where growth happens, and that's where we're gonna be able to take on increased responsibility. We're gonna be better leaders. And just a real quick plug before I lose this thought, and then I'll turn it over to Sergeant Altajiri. But when we stay stagnant in our career, whatever that may be, it could be civilian too, if we stay stagnant and we don't branch out and we just kind of stay in our own comfy little bubble, what kind of knowledge, what kind of experience are we going to have to impart on our airmen when they come to us for advice? Like if somebody came to me and said, hey, how do I lead this event? I'm not sure, I've never done one, So I just think, and that's an example, but that is just a great way when we step out of our comfort zone to develop into a mentor and to develop our skill set to impart on our airmen.
That's good.
So What if you feel like you've become stagnant in your job and you aren't being pushed out of your comfort zone? What should you do?
I love that question because that's on my notes. So I have a twofold here, and I'll turn it over to Sergeant Altajiri soon. But one, for
You can see who prepared here. The man.
Yeah, prepared my briefing. I practiced it. No, I really didn't. So.
Go ahead, sorry. Now you lost your train of thought.
No, I got it written right here. Okay, for supervisors, let me touch base on this real quick. For supervisors, this is where I love being a supervisor. This is one of my favorite jobs in the Air Force, is when I could like take my airmen in and we really just try to find ways to conquer those goals. But for supervisors, I encourage you to find ways for your airmen to grow. Pitch ideas to them. Now I'm gonna tell you, I had the best mentors growing up in my Air Force career and my AFSC who said, hey, Airman Phillips, hey, Sergeant Phillips, I think you should do this opportunity. I think you're gonna be great at this. And I'm like, no, that is not my cup of tea. But by them instilling that confidence that they had in me, I'm like, okay, let's do it. And I came out on the other side okay, still kicking. And for airmen, if you're not maybe receiving that type of feedback, I'd recommend you go find your supervisor. Go find somebody in that chain of command, and not even in your chain of command, it could be anywhere, and just ask, what are those opportunities? This is what I'm passionate about. This is where I think I want to be. What do you recommend?
Yeah, you remember feedback in the Air Force. I mean, I guess any feedback, but particularly in the military, is a two-way street. If you feel as an airman or NCO that you're not being utilized to your max extent possible, definitely sit down with your supervisor, request a counseling session, and express. Maybe your supervisor's unaware of what your desires and what your wants and what your short-term goals are, and that's fine. But articulate that to that supervisor or whatnot, and say, hey, there's any opportunities that come down the road, I'd like to know about them. I want to volunteer for it. And then just be on the lookout through email and through commanders' calls. We're always hearing about different opportunities and different avenues for professional growth. Be the one that volunteers for those. And if it's something you want to do for the right reasons, then definitely jump on it and just do it. I don't think you need permission to do any of those kind of things. But definitely, I think it starts with having that conversation with your supervisor to say, hey, these are the kind of things I'm wanting to do and explore. What do you recommend? And you can always go to your career advisor as well directly. There's definitely plenty of avenues out there, I think, to express that and try to gain some more perspective and growth.
Any other questions?
Yes. Each of you, what is the one time in your career that was you're pushed into your out of your comfort zone the most? Which memory stands out to you the most?
Do you have something?
Thinking.
I mean,
This is
top of my head, becoming a first sergeant. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
that. I have to think a little bit on it, but I think recently I've been a sheriff for about almost 3 years. That whole experience, sitting down with my supervisor and him pushing me, because I never had aspirations to be a first sergeant. I always wanted to be a good NCO. I really wanted to become a senior NCO and be the best senior NCO I could. And that sounds corny, but I've had some very good NCOs and senior NCOs in my career. I always joke to say that I joined the Air Force in 2000, or I enlisted the Air Force in 2000, but I didn't join until about 03, 04. It's really when the light bulb turned on and I got it. Yeah, becoming a first sergeant, it was challenging because, for someone to tell me that they see that I could be potentially a good first sergeant, it was kind of a, well, what are you seeing? Because I don't see it. You know what I mean? Kind of a thing. And like we talked about reflection and stuff and thinking about, what do I want from the Air Force? Am I getting what I want from the Air Force? And it kind of was a leap of faith. Okay, you think I do good at this? I'll give it my best shot. That's all I can do, right? Is give it my best shot. And so, we put my package in like any other DSD, and then you get that email from AFPC saying congratulations, and you're like, oh crap, just got real. Like, and you go to school and stuff, and you just surround yourself with others that have those same alike goals, and that's really important too. Show me your friends, and I'll show you your future. I think that's so important. Find those that have alike goals and alike, that want to, that bring you up, help bring you up, and it definitely will carry you. And I still reach out to past mentors. I talk to Elise a lot. We bounce ideas off each other. You're never going to have all the ideas, but I guess becoming a shirt probably definitely was something where I had no idea if I was going to be good at it or not. Right? There was no way for me to tell that, and it was just all I could do, I guess, is just give it my best shot and try my best and just be a good person, be a good human being. It's really not hard to be a good airman in the Air Force. have good intent, be a good human being, care for others, care for yourself.
Core values.
Core values, definitely. Invest in yourself and invest in others. It's not cosmic. It really is not. So I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing, was a first sergeant. Because I look at that role and I'm like, wow, like I will need to know all policies, all AFIs, all everything. Like I am the go-to for it all. So that was pretty intimidating, and I think that self-doubt definitely chimed in for me. Like just like what he said, am I going to be good at this? I love taking care of people. I am in the medical career field normally in the Air Force, so I know I inherently enjoy taking care of people in that arena, but I just wanted to make sure that I would be a great first sergeant. So I would say that's the most uncomfortable I've been, and you just hit the ground running. You really just jump into the deep end as well as a shirt. And if as long as the intent is there to take care of people,
hit the ground running. I mean, I'm a very tactile type of guy. I learn with my hands, maintainer by trade. I just got to do it. Like I really, I just get out there and take care of airmen and just have good intent. I mean, I think we both said that a couple times. If your heart's in the right direction, you're gonna be fine.
Yeah. And I think it's been one of the most, I would probably speak for both of us when we say it's been one of the most rewarding experiences being a first sergeant. It really is an honor to be a first sergeant, to wear that diamond and be that belly button, right, for the unit, to be able to rely on us, to be able to help them, maybe like when their life is in like the worst part possible, and we're there to help and be that liaison and help pick up those pieces. So I would say yes, it was very uncomfortable, but we did it. We took that leap of faith, and it has turned out to be one of the most rewarding experiences.
And we're both still learning.
Yeah.
There's scenarios and situations. You'll always hear certs say that you'll never see everything.
Right.
I always want to make sure. I guess my self-doubt is if an airman comes to me with some complex problem or some life event that just happened, I want to have all the right answers, and at times you're not going to have all the right answers. But to know where to look and to be able to just to be there for that airman and stuff, we're learning constantly. Like I said, you've been a diamond for 2 years, 2.5,
Almost 3.
So we definitely have experience, but I know I have not seen it all, and so that's always some self-doubt that if an airman brings me a problem, I can't help him. I guess is what I think about and keeps me up. But
absolutely. But there's many more I'm sure we could talk about that has pushed us out of our comfort zone, but I would say this is probably the biggest one in my career for sure. And I would say education. Can I talk about that too real quick? Maybe you could speak to it as well, but I'd say education has been quite an uphill battle and a mental obstacle. Joining the military, I think a lot of us, we join and we're like, we don't want to do any more school. Some of us are saying we want all the schooling we can get when we join, and these are the reasons, right? But I was one that didn't really want it, but I had it, right? It just kept coming. I had a 13-month tech school and then lots of training and CDCs, you name it. It's just a lot. CCAF. So to me, those were a lot of mental obstacles for me. And I won't go into too much detail, but I did not apply myself very much in high school. So that's where those mental obstacles were created for me, unfortunately. So I had a really hard time in tech school getting through that, not because of the instruction, but because of my own mental obstacles that I had, or barriers. So I just keep pushing myself. I just finished my undergraduate last year. It took me 8 years. It's okay. We got there. And then I told myself this year I'm going to pursue a master's, and we're going to see. I can prove to myself that I can do this, and I am capable. So that's another way that I've pushed myself out of my comfort zone.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you got one of those 8-year degrees too?
I do. I'm not a doctor yet, but you have one of those too. Yes. Any other questions? No? Okay. So we talked about encouraging airmen to speak to their supervisors regarding additional opportunities. And I would say start growing out of your comfort zone by thinking of what piques your curiosity and what you're passionate about. Because I think those, when you go to do those opportunities, they're going to come way easier to you. And mentally, you'll be wanting to do them. You'll be wanting to pursue them because you're passionate and you're really curious about it. I don't know if you have
No, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah, and while pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, you're going to identify your strengths and your weaknesses. Maybe some weaknesses in communication. Maybe, I don't know any other weaknesses there, but that's just one that comes to my mind. If you're like leading a team in a project, you're definitely going to see your strengths and weaknesses throughout that. So that's another really great positive when you are continuously trying to strive for more. And I would say my question is, how does attitude, we talked about this a little bit, but how does attitude tie into growth outside of your comfort zone? I don't know if you have anything on that.
For attitude tying in, well, I think you kind of talked about it a little bit with passion. If you're passionate about something and that's what you want to do, go for it. You know, that definitely, and if you're curious about it, if it's something that intrigues you, go ask those questions, go find someone in that job. If you're thinking about cross-training, be a load master or something, we have programs for that. Go talk to a load master. You can come to the squadron and get that information, and if maybe that wasn't the right thing for you. You had curiosity about that, and that wasn't it. But if you're still passionate, maybe it's something you want to explore. Attitude definitely drives success. I'm a firm believer in. You talk about strengths and weaknesses. I always say, focus on your strengths and work on your weaknesses. You sometimes hear that opposite: focus on your weaknesses. But if you focus on your weaknesses, what happens to your strengths? So I always say focus on your strengths, work on your weaknesses, and being able to identify those, I think, is really big too. What you're like for me, organization. Like obviously, I didn't come with a talking paper. I'm just kind of off the hip or
You're doing
whatnot.
great, yeah.
So, but I think that's just that fits my style, and that's kind of what I'm comfortable with. But I think we make a perfect team right here. So
Right. Are you in orange on your 4 lenses?
yeah.
Yeah, Sam Gold. So we just proved 4 lenses to be true.
There you go.
That's funny. I like it. And we talked about it a little bit earlier, but attitude of optimism and open-mindedness, and open to critique too. Because like I said, we're not always going to be successful in these opportunities. So sometimes we'll have critique, which is a good thing because we don't know what we don't know. And maybe some people are seeing things about us that they could bring to light, and we could work on those weaknesses that he talked about. So that's important. Do you have anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, so I have some final words. We all have potential, but it boils down to the amount of self-awareness and courage that we have in order to apply ourselves. Think of somebody that you admire, whether it's your personal life or your professional life, and that you look up to. I'd encourage you to go ask them about how they've operated outside their comfort zone and how they've grown from their failures, because I'm sure they have been there, especially if it's somebody you admire and you look up to. They have definitely pushed themselves out of their comfort zones. Ask about their story. And I would say another great quote, which I love, is get comfortable with being uncomfortable, especially in our military careers, because we're always provided opportunities to grow. So please take those on, but within reason. Don't overwhelm yourselves with new things in your life. But when you're sitting and you're kind of, twiddling your thumbs and you're like, what do I do with my time? Go find something. Go find a mentor, and you won't regret it.